Hi, I'm Zoe. I am a migrant rights campaigner, and it's been a hell of a week, hasn't it? I think with what we saw this week was the Labour Party, the government, deciding once and for all to jump both feet in to emulating the Reform Party, to pushing itself as the party for the people who really hate migrants, who want to see them suffer, who want to see them got rid of. And, threw their hat in the ring in that competition, that fight to the death, spiraling down the plug hole alongside the Tory party and Reform Party. And so we saw the Labour Party bring its new borders bill forward, which is full of pile of crap. I won't go into the detail of that now because it's for another video, maybe later down the line. All you need to know is it won't stop the boats. Are you surprised? No, nobody is surprised. We also saw Labour putting out ads clearly branded to look like they were Reform ads, bragging about the number of people that they have dragged out of their homes and their jobs in this country and flown to another part of the world. And they've been bragging about that all over their social media. And then on Monday the 10th, they put out video of a deportation flight actually being loaded up with people who were facing removal from the country. And this is directly out of Donald Trump's playbook. He's been putting out video footage of people being taken onto deportation flights since he got into office, and Labour saw that and were like, yeah, that's what we want to be like too. It's just kind of really despicable. It's really despicable. I think there's two things here. One is a conversation about what is an immigration system that makes people feel like the rules are being respected and that the British public has control. That can be achieved in several ways. I would argue that it can be achieved better by reforming the immigration system and visa system so that people don't become undocumented, which then means that they are subject to deportations. We could have that argument. I think this was much more about the performance, the symbol, the demonstration of intent and of which side are you on. And they came down on Reform's side. And they came down on Donald Trump's side. And they came down on the same side as Theresa May's go home vans, apart from the othering, the dehumanization, the xenophobia, the intensely racist and horrible nature of those vans was that they didn't bloody work, right? Like, let's be clear, putting up a video of you deporting some people does not a functional immigration and border system make. I think that that's a big problem that Labour has, is that a lot of their output on migration is about looking busy, and it isn't actually going to yield any tangible results because it is not about making the systemic changes that are needed to produce different results. It's more of the same. It's more of what the Tories were doing before that. There isn't any pressure for them to look at alternative approaches, although the alternative approaches do exist. And there are parties like the Green Party, the Lib Dems, SNP, Plaid Cymru. They all represent a different way of approaching migration. And there's a lot of people who voted for those parties or who voted for the Labour Party in the belief that they were going to get change. Their manifesto was singularly lacking in detail, but they promised change, and they also promised to do away with the most obvious visual symbol of the Tories' hostility towards migrants, which was the Rwanda plan, which was exactly this. Like what Rishi Sunak was trying to achieve was flight after flight taking off with people in handcuffs pushed onto it. And I bet you that they'd have put it on video too. Actually, most people who support Labour will have been pretty grossed out by this. They didn't vote for the Reform Party. They could have, they had that option, but they didn't. And I think that 6 months on from the election, to see the winning party so desperately crawling on its belly after the party that came a distant fourth is quite odd. I think we need to remember that people are good and that Labour got more votes than any other party in the general election just 6 months ago, running on a platform of change, and that its voters didn't vote for this shit, don't want this shit. I went to Instagram, the official UK Labour Instagram page, and I saw that they have put up a post, it's Monday the 10th of February, saying breaking. Labour have removed the highest number of people with no right to be here since 2018 and organised four of the largest return flights in UK history. I thought we could go together and read some of the comments underneath. And this is not a selection. I'm literally just going to read the comments as they come up, one after the other, from the top. And then maybe I'll stop when I reach one that like I don't agree with. How about that? So, first one, Debbie, I'm voting green. I mean, Debbie, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to tell the Labour Party that if they're doing this shit, it's not in our name and we're not voting for them. Because that's why they're doing this shit, because they think people are going to vote for reform. They need that pressure from the left. And Debbie, thank you for being it. I love you. You're amazing. Topple and Burn. Don't know if you guys know them. They make jewelry. They're great. Are you that scared of reform that you're trying to desperately outdo them in being the most vile, racist, anti-immigration party in the UK? Not Indre, you should be fucking embarrassed to post this. Yet, here we are. Get in the bin. Couldn't have put it better than myself, mate. Couldn't have put it better myself. Moving on. Shit indie disco. Anything on taxing the billionaires yet? Or just tough decisions getting made on immigrants and the working class? That's funny, isn't it? It's odd how the tough decisions only ever fall on poor people. And I would add that it's poor immigrants too, right? It's poor immigrants that we punish, just like it's poor British people that we punish with our tough decisions. Kerry asks, sorry, have I ended up following the Tories by accident? Good question. Scrolling. Tony Starkinson, this is not the hot take you think it is. It's giving right wing girlies. It is giving fascist shite. I agree. Catherine, we want you to tax the rich, take action on the climate emergency, and I don't know, actually be left wing. I love this because here it is right here. Like, here is your reminder there is a left in Britain, a significant constituency of people who want to see the rich pay for a better welfare state, a better social services for all of us, and the environment protected, and that those are our priorities. We exist. Aaron, I'm a Labour voter, but please stop trying to follow in the footsteps of Donald Trump. We're not interested. Blah. Exactly right, Aaron. Josephine, tax the super rich. For fuck's sake, how many times do we have to scream it to you? I'm afraid, Josephine, might have to scream it one more time. Icy Howard, it took me a good minute to realise that this wasn't a joke. The gap between Labour and the Tories is becoming smaller and smaller. It's shameful that you think this is a win. Our country isn't struggling because of the people coming here. We're struggling because we have a government who doesn't care about us. Emily, congratulations on pandering to fascists Trump and Farage. You nailed it. These people are getting dragged. Rosie, anyone that ever wanted a real Labour government is not prioritising this kind of thing. Where's the action on climate? What are you doing to prevent Muscat or from getting their claws further into our democracy? Good questions, Rosie, good questions. Filmgeist. Is this a reform campaign? Yeah, I mean, like, at least this time they had the bravery to put the Labour rose on it, but they have actually been pretending to be reform when they've been campaigning. Go figure. Balkan Kitchen, not something to be proud of or hail as a success. Fix the economy, the health service, feed children, and remember that you are supposed to be the party of social justice rather than the party of continuing stupid Tory policies and pandering to the far right. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? Like, we don't vote Labour because we want demonization of migrants and cutting of public services. That's just not why we vote Labour. Labour. Right, what's next? Noisy. The right wing are never going to love you, Keir. Go and join the Tories and allow a left-wing politician to take your seat. Allegra Rosalind. Breaking news. Labour is the Tory party with red ties. And we didn't vote for the fucking Tory party, did we? Peter Caulfield. What a nasty post. And nothing to be proud of. If you're trying to win over the lost Tory voters, too late. They've gone to UKIP. Why don't you concentrate on not losing the Labour supporters you have with hateful posts like this and try to win the young vote by taxing the super rich? Whoever your Instagram marketing team are, sack them. By the way, a shout out to the Instagram marketing team or any Labour marketing team that happens to be watching this. You don't have to do yourself this moral injury. There are other jobs available. Come join us. Honestly, you'll be so much happier when you're not pulling off this kind of shit all the time. Scrolling. Everyone has a right to live here. We all share the same earth. Oh, Phoebe. That is cute. That is cute. I'm still reading. I'm still agreeing. Why is this an achievement? I voted for you because you have morals and you're compassionate. What is this? Yeah, I don't know how many morals or how much compassion they demonstrated before getting elected, but ever since it has not been pretty. Sutters. Trying to appease reform voters is the cheapest way to sink to a new low. We want you to end austerity and tax the rich. It's not difficult. Yeah, it's not. I mean, absolutely this. End austerity, tax the rich. I mean, the difference that would actually make to our lives, the difference that would actually make to all our lives. Like this deportation flight, this video, what difference does that fucking make to anyone's life? Moving on. Rob, boasting about wrecking lives while doing nothing about the billionaires that are wrecking the country. Again, perfect, perfect. That is exactly it. And like, let's talk about like you're boasting about wrecking people's lives. Like I said, you can have a conversation about how you should run your immigration system, but showing off about how many people's lives you have destroyed is not okay. How we treat people matters. Plain speaking carpentry. This isn't a priority to me or most voters. Stop being a milquetoast party. Yeah, quite right. It is not a priority to Labour voters. Rafaela, I get that you're trying to appeal to ex-Tory voters, but please, for the love of God, this is not something to brag about at all. Oh my God. Sarah says, is this a joke? I can keep scrolling. Rosie says, this is disgusting to boast about this on your social media. What happened to solidarity between oppressed people? This is gross. Absolutely right, Rosie. Sally says, what have you become? Pandering to the far right. Ed says, you're never going to win over the frothing mouthed, rabid right wingers, so why keep pandering to them? How does this do anything to help people with the cost of living or improve public services? A very good question, Ed, because let's remember that once again, our public services depend on migrant labor. Iona Blackbird says, how fucking embarrassing, which just hits the nail on the head. Cara says, we don't care, tax the billionaires. And I think I will leave it there. There are so many comments absolutely dragging Labour for this and emphasizing again and again and again, this is not what your voters want you to do. Your voters want you to tax the rich, end austerity, support public services. We don't want to be seeing you performing a cruelty dance for the benefit of Nigel Farage's followers who hate you anyway. And I think that point on them hating them anyway is really, really important because there are people, I mean, there are, if you scroll further down, you can find some of them. And I bet there might even be some who come up in my comments here. And like, I do encourage you to, come and have that conversation with me if you don't agree. There are people who say, look, I don't really like this, but it needs to be done because we need to attract the reform voters. And I think that that's where a lot of like the Labour MPs probably are as well, right? Or Labour councillors and so on. Like they're not comfortable doing this, but they think they have to do it because they think that this is what's going to win back reform voters. And like, I'm sorry, it's just never going to be enough. And if you look on a place where there's more sort of a right-wing tilt, so you look on Twitter, you look on X, and look at the responses from the reform supporters and the Tory supporters, like you get clear as friggin' day, right? The responses from reform supporters basically fall into about three categories, right? I would say like there's the ones that just straight up don't believe it's happening, right? They're showing video of people being put onto a plane and they're like, these may be paid actors, this may be just one flight, but like the numbers aren't true. Like maybe they just got straight off the plane afterwards, just in general, like, I don't believe this. I don't believe that this actually represents what's really happening. Like their level of trust in government communications and in the Labour Party is shot to shit, right? There is no convincing them, even with video footage of people being deported, that you are deporting people. They have decided that you are not doing that, and they're not going to be convinced otherwise. That's one group. The second and the biggest group is people who are saying, look, this isn't enough, right? Look how many people have come in on boats while you've been doing these removals. It's much higher. I want to see you deporting hundreds of thousands or even millions of people for me to be satisfied. Like, let me be real with you. If you're one of these Labour people, you are never going to be deporting hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And if that is what they're asking you for, you cannot fulfill it. You cannot make Britain white for them again. They are not going to come back to you because you've ruined a few hundred or even a few thousand by the end of the administration people's lives. You are not going to get these people back. They want shock and awe. They want mass deportations. They want Trump. They want Farage. They want bigger than the cruelty you are willing to give. And every time you take another step to your right to give them another morsel, they will demand more. Nigel Farage can say, you deported 600 people? Great. I would deport 6,000 people. Oh, wait, why stop there? 60,000 people, 600,000 people, 6 million people. We could deport everyone. Right? He can just say whatever he wants. And he can say that we'll leave the European Court on Human Rights. And he can say that we'll tow boats back to France. And he can say that we'll send out the Navy. He can say whatever he likes. None of this would work. None of this can happen. None of this is good. But he can always go on further than you. Always, always. And the Reform voters, the people who support him, are not going to be satisfied with your little video here. I'm afraid it's just pathetic to them. It isn't enough. It's too little, too late. And they know that the boats are still coming and nothing that Labour is doing is going to stop the boats. And then there's one third group. And the third group's really interesting. Like, these are the people who are saying, you say you've deported, what is it? It's like 16,000 people, right? But I know that 2/3 of those people were voluntary deportations, right? They weren't enforced deportations. So it doesn't count. Only 4,000 people were actually deported by force. So these are people who are saying they don't just want you to remove people from the country. They want you to remove people who don't want to be removed from the country. They don't want people to be cooperating and being returned safely to other countries. They want to see suffering. They want to see handcuffs. They probably want to see screaming, dogs barking. They want to see people knocked to the ground. They want to see people dragged along the earth. They want to see people suffer. And this comes back to this Trumpist moment in our politics, this vindictive nature of what we're seeing. This is a tendency that exists in all group dynamics. It is a tendency that you cannot satiate by feeding it. The monster will bite off your hand as you try to feed it more meat. The crowd will bay for more. And when you create a society where people are dehumanized, where people are treated like garbage, where we say that it doesn't matter how we treat these people, it doesn't matter, then you are just feeding a really awful darkness inside of us, inside of our society, inside of our communities. A darkness that alienates us from one another, that prevents us from helping one another, that stops us from working together to overcome difficult and complex problems like how to manage an immigration system in the UK. This is not doing us any good. It is not taxing billionaires. It is not funding the NHS. It is just a performance, and it plays to the worst, most debased parts of our humanity. It plays to racism, xenophobia, and cruelty. It plays to vindictiveness. It plays to the same people who tried to set fire to hotels, housing asylum seekers this summer. I want Labour to stop, and I want us to remember that most people aren't like that most people voted for Labour, and Labour voters don't want this, that most people are fucking decent, that the people who commented on Labour's Instagram post are fucking decent, they're fucking right. Let's tax the rich. Let's remember that there is a whole lot of people who don't want this. And then we're not crazy. And then we're being gaslit by a media that has an agenda because it benefits its billionaire owners and its oligarch owners to press this hatred against foreigners and to say that that's what the country wants. But the country isn't like that. We're better than that. And if you're better than that, or if you're not quite sure, come and chat to me in the comments. Remember that I don't have the right-wing media ecosystem to amplify these messages of positivity and of challenging Labour's pursuit of reform. So every time that you share this video, every time that you like, comment, or subscribe on this video, it makes a really big difference to how loud the voice is of saying that we want something different. So come along and chat to me in the comments, and I will see you next time.